dart in. Keeping it pretty broad and loose.
And we would call this the blobbing technique.
I see blue in here, so that's what I'm going to add. Definitely down
More
here.
blobbing.
The less you have those hard lines like this, the better, because right now that's not receding. So we need to soften those up.
So are you sort of lifting?
I'm
softening?
going in there with a clean, wet brush,
Mushing it.
and just letting it sort of bleed into the background a little bit. And then you can go in on top of that, and now my green is going to go into what I just put up there, and it'll be a softer, more like limbs in the very background. So I think
So you're getting some nice blossoms.
yeah, and I want to get just a little bit of depth here and there. And I want to keep that white right there because I see that there.
So she's moving fast, not just because she's trying to beat the drawing canvas, but because she doesn't want to think too much.
Yep.
She just doesn't want to overthink it. Because that's when you tighten up and you have to go.
So hard lines where you want it is a good thing. In the foreground, you want to start getting more crisp. In the background, you want to keep it super soft. All right, now I really need to start adding those branches in trees, or else it's not going to happen.
The background's like if you don't have your distance glasses on.
You kind of think of the trees as brown, but honestly they're more gray. I like to add burnt umber with my blues. That gives you a really nice gray.
Nice warm gray.
So I've got this huge tree right here. Doesn't need to be perfect. If you make it perfect, it's gonna look a little strange, honestly.
In our world, perfect is bad.
Once again, you're just indicating.
So you're mushing a little at the bottom to make the base darker? Is that it?
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like
So you
it's
can-
going right into the ground.
Right. Add different colors in there. It gives it texture. So do you see, since the background was wet, I was able to put those trees on top and it went right through it. If I let that background dry, you wouldn't be able to do that. There has to be a little bit of forethought, unfortunately.
Again with the arm yoga.
All right, so I don't like the way those are just sitting on top of that. I've got to ground them.
It does, it really anchors them in. It kind of looks like their shadow.
Right. So you got to look in here and see the little dappled shadows in there. So let's get some of those in.
She's barely using her hand. She's just moving her arm. See that?
Just kind of moving where my eye is looking.
Your brush. Yeah, yeah, very much inside of her brush. The blobbing.
Blobbing, blending.
That's why these round brushes are amazing. If you only had one brush, that's the brush.
Yeah. So it's getting there. Just takes a little bit of noodling. Let's see, I need to do over here now. I'm gonna add just a little bit over here too while I'm at it. Since I have that color on my brush, take advantage of it.
What color is that you're using?
Just like a dark gray.
That's, I think she mixed sort of burnt umber and black. Is that right, Leslie?
Mostly the blue and the burnt umber.
I hardly ever use black. I mostly use colors to make dark shadows.
So right now I'm concentrating on shapes, but I needed to get some trees in there. And we're almost to the saran wrap. Down here. I want to keep this exactly the way it is because it looks like I want it to look. But you can do some shadows sort of behind the grasses coming up there. So I'm waiting for detail.
Waiting for it to dry?
Just kind of a process. I don't know. I'm not thinking about that right now.
Good.
All in shade over here.
That looks like our lawn now.
A little more over here. So just some sheen. It's best if you can just kind of lose yourself in the painting.
The good takeaway here is where she finishes her trees, instead of just stopping like there's sticks coming out of the ground, she always lobs in some shadow and some grass.
There's really not many hard lines on here.
Right.
I'm not doing a lot of detail on my trees, but you can tell they're trees. So now comes the fun saran wrap stuff. So I'm going to be doing some of these branches, goodies up here. It's pretty dark. You need a good amount of paint and water.
This is the best.
Cool.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah. I'm not trying to add all that stuff. It's too much. If I add every little leaf or whatever, it's going to be too much.
And the beauty of the saran wrap, just like your paper towels for your clouds and your resist, you don't have full control.
Mm-mm.
And so it ends up looking much better than if you were to overthink it.
I mean, do you know how hard it would be to make these
yeah.
with your brush? You'd be here like noodling for the next 3 hours.
And it looks so impressionistic.
And in some places, I'm actually just moving it around so I'm not getting all little
So you're
dots.
tapping and mushing.
Yes.
Those are the
Such
professional,
technical terms.
professional technical vocabulary.
Yes.
We can include our vocabulary in our recap if you'd like.
So cool.
No two ever look alike.
No. Just a little bit more. Getting kind of bold.
What did you do here? Did you pick up more water, or is
Yeah, I
that just
just basically made it really wet and
Okay.
dark. And if I don't like it, then I can sort of remove it with my brush. Just a little here and there. And more up here. All right, I don't want to overdo it.
I thought for sure that white top was not going to stay white. How did you just do that and not get it on you?
So now I'm just going to go back in and try to put in shadows. So I'm looking between the trees. And I have this really luscious dark green that I love to use. You can add a little black to your green. But you
all
need
have
something
black
to...
in your palette. I don't
Yeah,
know
you
that
have to
you
use
used
that.
it yet, but you do have it. So what are you doing now? Making shadows down there?
Basically, I'm, working in shadows.
Okay, so you're like right about here.
I'm just kind of all over the place, honestly.
Oh, perfect. So on that note, this is just a reference. This is your world. At some point, sometimes it's better to look away from the reference.
All right, so I'm gonna get this pretty wet down here.
Blobbing again.
Lobbing and moving. Pull up some little grassy areas in there. You just want to add interest. Something is there, you don't really know what it is, just foliage. I think I want to add a little bit back in here because there's lots of striping going on. And the further back it goes, the more soft it is. So that helps. Very last minute you can add in a few little sprigs. Everything you're doing is an indication. What's the least amount of dabbing or indicating that you can do to make it look semi-real, so that you know what it is. I feel like the trees need help.
It's so relaxing watching.
Isn't it? It's hypnotic.
It's not relaxing for me.
It would be.
We're being mesmerized.
It would be if we weren't watching you.
Probably.
Yeah, that's true.
I just can't wait to see what everybody does. Yes. Yes. Willie. What you did of Willie, Leslie, is
Oh, thank you.
spectacular.
Thank you.
And what?
Really is John's job.
My dead greyhound.
Beautiful portrait.
He's still my screensaver.
Oh, is he?
He
Chester's
visits me.
mine.
He visits me in dreams. Does Chester visit me?
No.
Isn't that wonderful?
Happy little trees.
Do you use the fan brush for your trees?
You can, in fact.
You certainly
yes.
can. That's
Bob.
There's one right there.
Ross. Bob Ross.
Bob Ross.
Yes.
There's a fan brush there for you to try.
He was using fan brush. You remember watching him? Yeah. He's probably still on reruns.
I thought he's your dad.
Yeah, he passed away,
yeah.
but there's still a society, and they do Bob Ross painting on
Oh, that's wonderful.
I was gonna say like Hulu or Netflix or something picked up his show, and so he kind of got like a new, like wave of followers who learned to paint from
A
him.
new generation.
Yeah, a new generation.
I know my kids watch them. It's funny.
He used to watch it in college. He was a cosplayer.
Oh, I bet.
Exactly. Yeah.
That afro, right? Didn't you have an afro? or something?
Yeah.
Yes.
I watched
a
it.
big one.
Auburn.
I watched something one time where he said he didn't really want it anymore, but they wouldn't let him cut it.
That was his signature.
Yeah.
So how do we know when to stop, Leslie?
I think I need to stop.
What?
She says as she puts her brush down.
Keep seeing more.
So before you sit, show
Wow.
them the other painting that you did of the same thing. Is it here?
Oh, you know what?
Okay,
Your
here it
battery
is.
came on. It might have. Oh no, it's still going.